Hi everybody, and welcome back to Teachers Talk Money, where I help teachers master their money in order to give back to themselves. I'm super excited for today's video because it's one of my favorite topics, and that is renting versus buying a home. Why I personally do not plan to buy a home anytime soon, if ever, and why a lot of the traditional advice that we get about home buying is actually fallacious in many senses. I love this topic so much because it's something that gets people really riled up. It's extremely controversial, it questions the status quo, and it's highly complex, which to me makes it more interesting. So I'm gonna start by saying that we have all heard the classic advice that if you're renting, you are throwing away money. We've also all heard that buying a home is a good investment. Even my own family, who did not talk very much about finances at all, still drilled these concepts into my brain growing up. So this advice is more than widely accepted outside of even normal personal finance spheres. The theory behind the idea that if you rent, you're throwing away your money is the fact that if you pay the same amount towards your mortgage as you would towards rent, theoretically, you're paying that money to your future self instead of paying it to a landlord. And that is because when you pay your mortgage, your home equity grows, and theoretically, you would sell that home and then be able to make a profit. And that profit that you make from selling your home would be the investment. So today I'm going to be breaking down why that is not necessarily mathematically accurate, and why renting instead of buying is actually a very valid financial move for a lot of people to make. So let's start by just talking about the math of the choice. One of my all-time favorite people in the personal finance space, Ramit Sethi, who wrote the New York Times best-selling book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich, which is one of my favorite books, talks extensively about the topic of renting versus buying. He often cites the fact that your mortgage payment, including the down payment and interest, so what you pay for your mortgage monthly, only makes up about 50% on average of what you will spend during the lifetime of paying for your home. So if that's only 50%, what are all the other costs? One of the biggest costs and most kind of nebulous costs is the cost of maintenance and repair for your home. Some of these things are expected and some are unexpected. An example of an expected maintenance cost would be having to replace your roof about every 20 years. An example of an unexpected maintenance cost would be if the plumbing breaks in your home and suddenly your basement is flooded. I use both of these examples because these are both things that apply to my parents and their home, which they've been living in for about 18 years now and are still paying the mortgage on. So not only are these maintenance and repair costs super hefty, but they could come up at an unexpected time as well, making them difficult to really save and prepare for. But it's not just maintenance and repairs. There are so many other costs, including the property tax, insurance for your home, and the realtor fees. Now, a lot of people will talk about the fact that it's the seller that pays the realtor fees and not the buyer, but if you're looking at your house as an investment, you have to understand that you will be the seller someday, and therefore you have to factor realtor fees into your costs as well. So it tends to be about 50% on average of what you have to pay on top of your mortgage payment each month. And on top of all these costs, people still tend to buy too much home, meaning that their monthly mortgage payment could actually be larger than they would be paying in rent each month. To give you guys a visual of this, I want to show you this infographic from Jeremy at Personal Finance Club on Instagram. He is an awesome person to follow, and he does a lot of really helpful infographics like this one. And what I love about this breakdown is it not only shows the point I was making earlier about the fact that your mortgage is only about 50% of what you pay over the life of owning your home, but it also shows why calling your home an investment is actually kind of fallacious. And I think what this represents really well is opportunity cost. The fact that that other 50% of your money that you put towards taxes, fees, maintenance and repairs, and more could theoretically be invested if you were renting instead of having bought your home shows just how much opportunity cost you are giving up by purchasing a home instead of choosing to rent. When you invest that money in a retirement account, it will on average yield about 8%, which is much more on average than you're going to get from your home when you consider all of the expenses that you've paid for it. Now, I want to say that I understand that this is not true for everybody. Some people will put a ton of money down, they will pay off their mortgage in 15 years or less, and they will buy a house that is well within their means that will grow in value. This can happen, and it's totally possible. But oftentimes, if somebody is telling you that their house is the best investment they ever made, they either have not truly run all of the numbers, or it is the only investment they have ever made. I'm absolutely not saying that buying a home is always a bad idea. If you are somebody that knows where they want to live for the next 5 to 10 years, if not their whole life, and you have a strong financial plan and you have run the numbers and know what you're doing and you value having a roof over your head and owning that, I would never tell you not to buy a home. My advice to you would be to really run the numbers in a renting versus buying calculator. Make sure you have a strong financial plan first, and make sure that you're buying that home because it's something you value instead of something you were told you should value. You want to make sure this is an informed, logical decision rather than one that is based on culture and emotions. My goal with this video is to alleviate the feeling that you absolutely need to buy a house. This feeling of needing to do that, or even like the FOMO of not being a homeowner at a certain age, is often an emotional and cultural based feeling versus a logical and mathematical fact. And the other piece of this is that a lot of the advice, the traditional advice that renting is throwing away money and that homes are a good investment, comes from the real estate industry that profits off of these ideas being common knowledge. So it is not always truly in your best interest. I think that nowadays a lot of millennials and those younger than millennials are coming to terms with the fact that homeownership may not be the best decision for them, or they're forced to come to terms with the fact that it is not a possibility for them at this time. And that is why I made this video, to alleviate some of the social pressure that we have to be homeowners that really comes mostly from previous generations for whom it was much more of a financial possibility and reality for. But as always, it is up to you to have your strong financial plan and run the numbers. If you're ready to get started on that financial plan, click the link in the description below. You can get my budget templates or my money map workbook if you want a little more help getting started. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and have an amazing week, everybody. Bye.